Welcome back. Before we jump into this deep dive, we just have to get a couple of things straight. This audio is our personal commentary, and it's based entirely on publicly available information.
Exactly. And while we do use AI to help sort through all the data, the final interpretation, the editorial responsibility, that all rests with a human. Specifically with Hiroyasu Ichikawa, the publisher of Climate Curation.
Right, so think of this as our synthesized take on the news. And what a strange take it is in early 2026. It really feels like we're watching two different stories unfold at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. On one hand, you have politics. On the other, you have physics and economics.
And they are heading in completely opposite directions.
Yeah.
So I guess our mission today is to figure out which one is actually winning.
If you just look at the sources, the disconnect is pretty jarring.
Let's start with the political side. The Financial Times has this piece calling it a dark truth. President Trump has announced the U.S. is pulling out of everything. The UNFCCC, the IPCC, the whole global climate framework.
But that's not even the most surprising part, is it? The real story is the silence.
Exactly. Back in 2017, you had CEOs from Apple, Goldman Sachs, making a lot of noise, pushing back. This time.
Nothing. The FT says they're genuinely afraid of political retaliation.
And you see it in the money. The New York Times is reporting that the whole ESG investment boom on Wall Street has, well, it's effectively collapsed.
The big banks are quietly exiting these net zero alliances because the political and legal threats are just too real.
So if your world was just U.S. headlines, you would assume the energy transition is dead in the water.
But physics and economics, they don't really care about the news cycle. And the data from everywhere else tells a very, very different story.
Okay, so let's get into that contrast.
Well, while Washington is retreating, you have the EU hitting this massive milestone in 2025. According to Ember, for the first time ever, wind and solar generation officially outpaced fossil fuels.
And that's not a forecast, right? That is the actual state of the grid.
It's the physical reality. And then you look at China. Carbon Brief has data showing their CO2 emissions have been flat or even falling for about 18 months now.
So they're going to hit their peak way before their 2030 target.
It certainly looks that way. And this all points to the bigger shift. The whole conversation has moved on from, ideals to hard economics.
Even Elon Musk was at Davos, basically making a business case. He was criticizing U.S. solar tariffs, not for climate reasons, but because he sees them as just an artificial barrier to a better, cheaper technology.
He's betting on the physics of it.
Right.
But there's a new player in that physics equation that's changing everything.
Artificial intelligence.
Right. The sheer energy hunger of AI. These data centers, they don't sleep.
They need power 24/7. It can't just be when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing. They need constant, flat, baseload power.
And that changes the investment landscape entirely. The latest report from the Clean Tech Group shows capital is flooding towards what they call clean baseload.
So not just standard renewables, but things that are always on.
Exactly. Geothermal and next-gen nuclear. That's where the smart money is going.
Which explains some of these huge funding rounds. You see Zanskar raising a fortune for AI-driven geothermal exploration, Sage Geosystems partnering with Meta.
Yeah, and it's not about being green anymore. It's about a very practical problem. How do you keep the AI servers running without breaking the grid?
And that brings us to what might be the most important angle here. The whole framework is shifting. It's not about sustainability anymore.
No, it's about national security.
Mm.
The Clean Tech 100 report makes that crystal clear. This is now about resource security. It's about economic survival.
So even if the politicians are saying one thing, the market and the national security people are saying we need to build this stuff so we can win the AI race.
The transition has become a strategic imperative. The U.S. might be leaving the negotiating table, but the technology itself is just rewriting the energy map anyway.
Which leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. As the U.S. government backs away, can the sheer force of technology and economics, AI, EVs, batteries, can they carry the global transition on their own?
And maybe the bigger question is, does the silence of those CEOs even matter if the market has already decided to move on without them?
Something to think about. That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.